Hi everyone, welcome. Today I'm going to be looking at the deluxe edition versions of the Paul McCartney archive collection. Now, some of you who watch my videos may have noticed that I've got all of them up here. And today I'm going to be looking at which are my least favourite through to my favourite. Now, I'm not comparing whether Band on the Run is a better album than Ram or whether Speed of Sound is a better album than McCartney II. I'm going to be talking about the actual deluxe editions, the booklets, the packaging, what you get with it, and which I consider to be the best of the McCartney archive releases. So, let's crack on. Okay, so there's been 12 Paul McCartney albums released so far in the archive collection since it kicked off back in, I think it was 2010. In 12th place, can you see which one I've taken out of there? It is Speed of Sound, or Wings at the Speed of Sound. Now, I will say in favour of this, the sound quality is superb. It's probably one of the best remastering jobs that they've done in the whole collection. But the reason that I've put this bottom of the pile is that with this and Venus and Mars, which we'll see a bit later on, there has been criticism of this booklet style that it can be prone to warping. I don't know if you can see, mine's probably gone a little bit bent. It's not too bad because I've kept it flat, but a lot of people have had problems with the style of these books warping. There's a lot of information in this book. It's a good big book, as it is with all of them. Some great photos and stuff that can easily fall out. But there's not too many extras on this either in terms of audio extras. There's a really good demo of Beware My Love with John Bonham from Led Zeppelin on drums. That's good. But then you've got throwaway things like Message to Joe, which is just a sort of a 30-second message to Joe English with some vocal effects. And not really completely necessary, to be honest. But still, I love all my archive collections, but something's got to come in last place. I'm putting Wings at the Speed of Sound in 12th. Okay, at number 11. Have you guessed which album I've taken out? It is Pipes of Peace. So the reason I've put this at number 11 is, although it's another great package, they're all great packages, the audio bonus content isn't fantastic. It's mainly a few demo versions from an album that wasn't one of his best anyway. Plus you've got some B-sides of the time, which is nice. But again, they've done a really great job on the sound quality of the remastering with this particular album. Let's just have a quick look inside here, see what we've got. There is, as always, there's a big book about the making of the album. So there's a lot of information there. It features heavily the work that he did with Michael Jackson on the album. There is the booklet that's got the actual discs themselves in. That's nice. All my download codes have fallen out. I think that's going to be another feature of this video, is everything falling out when I open the books up. And this booklet here, which is all about the making of the Pipes of Peace video. So this is quite nice because obviously that was a great video that reenacted the World War I Christmas Day football match between England and Germany. So there's lots of great information about the making of the video there. So again, it is a very nice package, as they all are. And it was one of the first to come in this style of sort of a slipcase around the outside of everything else contained within. Number 11, Pipes of Peace. At number 10, it's Venus and Mars. So this was released alongside Wings at the Speed of Sound in the same style booklet. So again, there is a suggestion that this is prone to warping. You can maybe see a little bit there. Mine has. And I know some people have had it worse than I have. If you look at that, the way that it sort of fans out there, I can see in another 10 years or so time that this is going to get quite warped. Now, Venus and Mars, I love the album, as anybody who's seen my McCartney album rankings will know. What I do think that they maybe should have done, if it was technically possible, was a remix on this album, because it's never been his best sounding album at all, and it would have been nice if they'd taken the opportunity to really strip it back to the original master tapes, and actually done a proper remix rather than just a remaster. So they didn't, maybe they couldn't, I don't know whether there's a technical reason. We're probably never going to get that now, to be honest. But still, it's a great album. This book, it's got lots of quite interesting things. You can see here there's sleeves that have got, if I just pull this out, this has got handwritten original lyrics to Rock Show, Venus and Mars, and on that side there's Medicine Jar and Letting Go. There's all sorts of things like that in this particular package, which is nice. And I do find this a really good book to read, because I think it was a really interesting period for Wings, when they'd just come off the back of the success of Band on the Run, and they were now legitimately a massive band in their own right. So it's a real good story in this book, but because of the warping issues, there isn't a lot of great demo audio bonus content on this. I'm putting that in 10th place. At number 9, it's Tug of War. So this was released alongside Pipes of Peace, and it's a very similar style, that slipcase with all the different books inside it. Now, this was the first archive release in the series to feature an actual remix of the album, and my understanding is that was done for technical reasons, because they've always wanted to offer high-res downloads with this series, and they have done with every album, and because of the way that it was originally recorded digitally, it wasn't possible to do that with the original master of the album, so they had to create a remix to be able to offer a high-res download. That's how I understand it. But what they did do as well, they gave us the original master of the album, and there was a lot of speculation on the internet about what version of the album did they give us for the original remaster. And if anyone's still wondering, it was what they call a Japanese blackface remaster, which master, not remaster, which was sort of generally considered to be the best version available. They didn't remaster that original version of the album. Now, that led to some arguments on the internet, one or two of which I was involved in, where there was people insistent that was a remaster. It wasn't, but it still sounds really good. The remix, I do like the remix. It can get a bit reverby in places for my taste, but it does sound nice. It's a different listen. It's just a slightly different vibe to the album on the remix compared to the original version of the album. There isn't masses of audio, bonus audio again with this, but I think the fact that we've got a remix and we've got an original really good mastering of the album, and in this nice new style booklet that we got at the time, I think it was a very good release. I'm putting that as my number 9. Okay, at number 8, can you tell what I've taken out? I've taken out one of his greatest albums, Band on the Run, number 8. Now, this was the very first Paul McCartney Archive Collection release all those years ago, and I did like this booklet style that they did for this and a couple of the other albums that we'll come on to. It's just a great read. It's a way to read about the making of the album. What a page! I've opened it up on there. Let's get a better one for you. There's the album sleeve. Lots of great photos from the time when they recorded this in Nigeria. So it's a great document of the period, a very interesting period in Paul's career, and the sound quality is superb again on the remaster on this. There's just this nagging doubt in the back of my mind, because this is his most famous album, his biggest album. Are they going to go back and give us another version of this at some point? I think if it's going to happen with any album, it's going to happen with this one. And the thing on the flip side that makes that less likely is the fact that there's hardly any demos available for this, because you may know the story. They were all stolen from Paul at knife point when he was in Nigeria. But still, some of the bonus audio that's on this from around the one hand clapping show that he did at the time, some superb extra tracks on here. There's just not loads of them. But I really did like this book style, and I wouldn't even mind if they go back to this for some of the future ones. I don't think they will, though, because they're now to get a lot more money out of us these days. But there you go, going back to the start of this archive series collection, number 8, Band on the Run. At number 7, this is the first McCartney Archive Collection booklet that I owned. This is McCartney, so this was the release after Band on the Run. This and McCartney II came out at the same time. So it's the same booklet style as Band on the Run. They pretty much replicated the exact formula with this one, but again, it's great. There's great photos in here. It's a great story to tell, because You know, he was a Beatle when he made this album, and there's a guitar that he used on the album, all sorts of photographs in here, and again, a really great document of this very interesting period in Paul's life, sort of late 69, early 1970. So I do really like this one. I cherish it because it was a gift to me, and it was the first one of these that I owned. So I really like that one. That's number 7. That's McCartney. At number 6, it's Wings Wildlife. So this came out at the back end of last year, 2018, and I got this and Red Rose Speedway as part of the 1971 to 73 McCartney collection, or the Big Barn box as it's been labelled on the internet. It's an astonishing package, the full booklet with both in, because you also get, you probably know, Wings Over Europe, which is this red one just here, that is only available as part of the huge box set. I'll get that box set out in a bit and show you that. But Wings Wildlife is contained within there, and I always said that when Wildlife comes out, I wanted them to go back to that original booklet style, like McCartney and Band on the Run, but they haven't. But I really love what they've done here. So here you go. You've probably seen this, Wings Wildlife, and then cartoon on the back that comes on. That's part of the original album, I think, on the back cover. But then in here, you've got this beautiful booklet here for Wildlife, and it's like a cloth cover. So it's a great photo of the album cover there, and really nice photo of Paul from that session on the back there. And again, like all the other Archive Collection releases, it's got all the information about the recording of the album in there. Loads of information about the start of Wings and what an interesting period of Paul's life this was. You've got this here, which is the booklet that contains all the discs. So that's really nice. And then this folder here, which has got Linda McCartney notebook, and there's just notes of all sorts of songs and lyrics and such like in here. I'll just show you a few pages from this. So you've got drawings there. There's lyrics to Womankind, that classic Paul McCartney song. Some more lyrics there. There's just lyrics to all sorts of things. That's a really nice booklet. There's all sorts of photographs and such like in here as well. But Wildlife, they've done a really good job on the remastering of the audio. It does sound really nice, and it's certainly helped me to appreciate the album a lot more just recently. There's not masses in terms of bonus audio, just simply because of the nature of the way this album was recorded. Was it something like 2 weeks, or it might not have even been that long, that they went into the studio, recorded the songs, and then got out of there. So that there's not a lot of extra stuff floating around. But it's a really nice package, is this. That's Wings Wildlife at number 6. Just before I move on to number 5, we talked briefly about the Wings Over Europe book, so I'll show you that. So it's, because this is only available in this box set, it's not one of the Archive Collection releases in its own right, so I'm not going to include it in the rankings. But if I was ranking this on its own, it would be number 1 without a shadow of a doubt. It's a phenomenal box set. But here there's all sorts of information, photographs about Wings' first tour, their Wings Over Europe tour. And the album itself is really good. If you've not had a chance to have a listen to that yet, I really recommend that. And I don't know how much studio trickery has gone into the production afterwards, but it really gives the impression that they were, right from the start, they were a really good live band. This box, that Red Rose Speedway, Wildlife and Wings Over Europe comes in, is beautiful. There's my copy there. There's my, what's my number there? 1819. Really happy to get this because it did sell out really quickly, and a lot of people didn't end up with one of these, so I'm really glad that I've got that. So I thought I'd just show you Wings Over Europe before I move on to number 5 in a moment. It's an absolute monster at number 5. It is Wings Over America. It's just the weight of this thing, the size of it. It's incredible. Get you a good look there. And look at all the things that are in this package. Let's take some of these out and have a quick look through. What a document of the times this is. So you've got the normal book that you've got with all the others, all the photographs and information about the tour. There is a book which is more photographs from Linda. All sorts in here. Let's try and get you a look at some of those. So there's loads of great photos from the era there. This booklet here, this is it's like a sort of a leather effect booklet, and when you open this up, there are photographs of the band, reproduction photographs, and then in here, this is pretty incredible. There's all sorts of copies of tickets from various different shows, set lists. There is information about the album, tour itineraries, just an incredible amount of information. I've just noticed there's a picture at the bottom. Is that Bruce McMouse? Possibly not. No, it looked like him from upside down. But this is just an incredible booklet. Look, tickets are trying to fall out at the bottom. There's so much crammed into here. It's really nice. Now you've got the Wings Over America album, and then as a bonus on here, you've got live at Cow Palace, San Francisco. I think I'm right in saying there. As bonus content, and there's probably about 8 or 10 songs from that. Other than that, there is no other bonus audio. So I think some people would have liked there to have been a bit more than that on this package, but what an incredible set this is. That is my number 5. There's 4 I rank higher than this. Wings Over America. At number 4, it's my favourite Paul McCartney album, Ram. So let's open this up. Again, it's a big package, is this. I love this sort of cloth covering on here. That's just the outer wrapping that's fallen out there. So, wow, there's loads in here. We've got, again, the big book that's got all sorts of information about the making of the album. All sorts of depth there about that. There is this file here that's got all sorts of photographs and such like in there, all in a fancy sort of tie thing there. Loads of more photographs from the era. Very nice. There's more handwritten lyrics to songs. Just all sorts in here. Do I need a small book of sheep? Do I? I'm not convinced that I do, to be honest. It's a book with lots of photographs of sheep being held by Paul McCartney. Who knew that we needed that? Amazing. But still, I'm being flippant there, sorry. The audio content on here. So Ram, just what an album, and the remaster is great. You get the mono version of Ram here, which will be of interest to a lot of people. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of the mono version of Ram, mainly because I think, especially on something like Monkberry Moon Delight, the vocals seem to get a bit lost in the mix to me. But I know a lot of people love it, and I'm glad you love it. I'm glad you enjoy it, because it's a fantastic album. You also get Thrillington with this. So I know we've had a vinyl and CD re-release a year or so ago of that, but you know, that was the first big proper release for it in the recent era anyway. It was in this set here, so it was great to get a proper remastered version of Thrillington. It's a fantastic package, and that is my number 4, Ram. Before we get into the top 3, I'd just like to put the question out to yourselves. What would you like to be the next releases in the Paul McCartney Archive collection? Would you like to see London Town and Back to the Egg as a double whammy package, maybe the back end of 2019? Or would you like to see some other direction going in, like Flaming Pie or Give My Regards to Broad Street, Press to Play, something like that? Let me know what you think. I'd be very interested to hear. So let's crack on with number 3. Did you see it magically disappear from there? it's Flowers in the Dirt. So I love that cover, fantastic, and it's sort of like a silky cloth effect on there. But again, there's all sorts of booklets in here, making of the album and making of various videos and just all sorts of things in there. There was, of course, the controversy with this particular release, download gate around the lots of the B-sides and such like from the era, which were only released as a download. You got a code with this rather than on CD, and that was the first time that happened. Caused a lot of people to get quite upset, and I appreciate your position if that was something that really annoyed you. It didn't annoy me as much, and I think the main reason why they did it is this was the first and so far only release in the archive collection where we're dealing with material that was originally released digitally, and I think that made a difference. So for example, with, let's say, Wildlife or Ram, where you've got B-sides of the era, they'd never been released digitally apart from sort of on remasters 25 years ago. So they needed that love and attention. The B-sides on this, you could argue, they're already there digitally. You can already have lossless versions. You've been able to buy them on CD for nearly 30 years. They've been available. And I think that's why they did it. And that's why I think for any album that comes before Flowers in the Dirt chronologically, I don't think they'll do that again. If we see an archive version of Flaming Pie, I wouldn't be surprised, certainly if they wanted to do the same thing again. Whether they will just because of the controversy that it caused with this, that might make them back off. But I think if there hadn't been controversy here, they would definitely do the same thing again with Flaming Pie. That's just my opinion anyway. But Flowers in the Dirt, it's a fantastic package. What I'd also recommend, if you ever get a chance, I don't know whether you can still get hold of this, is the website Super Deluxe Edition, which I'm sure a lot of you know. They produced this booklet at the time, which you could get for, I think it was about £5 or something like that. And this was interviews with the producers of Flowers in the Dirt, Trevor Horn and Steve Lipson, who lots of interviews gathered together with them about the making of the album. So it was really nice to see a different perspective other than Paul's official line of what happened in the sessions. This was something that came out, wasn't authorized, but it's certainly a good companion piece to this. This is a wonderful set. I don't think the price has really changed much since it came out. It's still available, about £120 or such like, and if you can, I'd certainly recommend that you get hold of this if you've not got it already. Really nice. Before I move on from Flowers in the Dirt, I didn't mention, remiss of me, that the absolute highlight of that package, which is the Elvis Costello demos. So there's two different versions of those. There's the original demos that were done, I think, around about 1988, which is just him and Elvis, acoustic guitars, bashing out demos of things like My Brave Face, all sorts of songs from Flowers in the Dirt, and things that went on to appear on Elvis solo albums and Off the Ground. And it's just wonderful. So something like, is it Tommy's Coming Home? God, I've nearly forgotten the name of it. Just beautiful, and the harmonies that they had were great. And then you've also got another disc on there, which is the band demos. So once Paul had got his band together, they did demos of all these songs, and I don't think they'd ever even been bootlegged before this came out. So that was a real nice addition that nobody really expected to get, I don't think, and that really sort of sets that apart from probably the albums that I've already had a bit lower in my rankings. So yes, don't forget the Elvis Costello demos. At number 2, if there's one release in this whole archive collection that gives you the chance to take an album that's probably not one of his better loved overall, but allow it to be completely reassessed and given a lot of love that it had not had before, it is McCartney II. I love this book. So it's, again, this was released alongside McCartney to sort of bookend the Wings career. So McCartney being the album before, Wings, well, of course Ram was as well, but this being 10 years later and the album after Wings. Just a great job that they did on the remaster. The bonus content on here is fantastic. You've got a disc that's got all sorts of other songs from the sessions: Bogey Wobble, Check My Machine, Secret Friend, Mr. H. Atom, All You Horse Riders. There's another CD that's then got full-length versions of all those songs, and some of the ones from the main album, like Dark Room, Summer's Day Song. You've got a full-length version of Wonderful Christmas Time. There's a DVD that's got all sorts of things on there. It's just a fantastic package. It's a great booklet, although you can argue the booklet inside, because it's pretty much identical format to McCartney and Band on the Run, it probably ranks on a par with those. But I just think for the extra audio content that you get with this, and the chance that it gives you to reappraise this album, which was always one of Paul's main aims from the start anyway of this series, McCartney II is fantastic. The prices just lately have gone crazy. I mean, I bought this for about £30 when it came out, and actually had 3 copies. I gave one away. I sold one for about £5 more than I bought it for. But just recently I've seen them up for sale for £300-400. It is crazy. So they're really getting scarce out there. So if you haven't got this and you want it, if you find one at any sort of reasonable price, just get hold of it if you can, because these are becoming very scarce. But that's a fantastic package. That's my number 2. So I mentioned earlier that the 1971 to 73 box had, if I was just taking that on its own as a release, that would be number 1 without question. But when you take out Red Rose Speedway out of there and look at it in isolation, I'm still putting this as my number 1, the best release so far in the Paul McCartney Archive collection. This is fantastic. Red Rose Speedway is an album that I've grown to love a lot more in the last few years. They've done a great job on the remaster. But on here, there's so much extra. You probably know that Red Rose Speedway was originally planned as a double album, but that never saw the light of day. On here, you've got the original double album as it was planned, and that's a really interesting listen. It sometimes messes a little bit with your head because it's so different to what you've been used to all these years. Things like Big Barn Bed not starting the album and Little Lamb Dragonfly ending the album. It's unusual, but it's a really great listen. So to have that, to have all the early mixes of these songs, sort of rough mixes of the songs, some of those are really gorgeous. The content inside here, it's on a par with things like The Flowers in the Dirt, Wings Over America releases. Again, you've got the big book here that's got all the information about the making of the album, and that's fantastic. But the main reason why I am putting this as number 1 is the video content. So the video content in the archive collection has often been criticised. On this, it's phenomenal. So there is the James Paul McCartney TV special from 1973, which, so the story goes, was Paul's way of not been sued by Lou Grade of ATV, basically. There was some legal wranglings over something to do with Northern Songs. I'm forgetting the story now. But essentially Paul said, well, I'll do this TV special for you rather than you taking me to court and suing me. And it's crazy, absolutely crazy. He's doing song and dance routines in sort of classic Hollywood style. He goes up to Liverpool and is in a pub with all his family, and you just see him hanging out in a 1970s Liverpool pub. There's lots of great live audio on there. It's a real interesting document of the times. I'm so glad that we've got a really good copy of that now. The quality was better than I was expecting, of the picture quality of that. And the absolute bonus that I don't think any of us really expected to get, but in this, Bruce McMouse. So it long been heard of, and little snippets, very, very few snippets had come out of it over the years where you could just see little bits of it. But to have the whole film, it looks so much better than I was expecting it to look. It's crazy, it's ridiculous, it's fantastic. I urge any of you who have not seen the Bruce McMouse film to just put your feet up, grab a beer and watch that, and just appreciate just how crazy the 1970s were, because there's no way you'd see anybody doing anything remotely like that in the last 25 years. It's just superb. I love it. So it's the bonus content really on here in terms of the DVDs and everything that makes this, for me, the best release so far in the Paul McCartney Archive collection. And it's the most recent one. It seems to me that they've sort of been learning, I think, as they've gone along, how to do these archive collections. They do seem to be generally getting better and better. So what we're going to get in the future, it's very interesting to think about what we might get. I think it's very likely that we'll get London Town and Back to the Egg next. I'm pretty sure of that this year. I really hope we get Press to Play, and I really hope he goes to town with that. I know it's not a loved album, and Paul's criticised it himself in the past, but I think there's potential for a fantastic release there with all the extras that you could have with it. I'd like to see a Broad Street release. Maybe you could package it up with Press to Play, for example, and do it as a sort of a mid-1980s release. Maybe include Return to Pepperland sessions in there. Maybe even throw in the Russian album as part of it. Although I think that's probably not going to happen because that's having its own re-release soon in a couple of months' time anyway. So it is rumoured. I think we'll get Flaming Pie. But then will we get things like Tripping the Life Fantastic? Personally, I don't see the need for it. I know some people would love to have that. And I'd love to have it if it's announced. I will buy whatever they put out. I'd love to have that, but I don't really think I need it, to be honest. I don't see them going beyond Flaming Pie with the archive collection. I really don't. I may be proved wrong. We shall see. And please let me know in the comments. What do you think about that? Do you think they'll go beyond Flaming Pie? I think absolutely forget it if you ever think we're going to get a Driving Rain Deluxe Edition. That is not going to happen, in my opinion. Why on earth would Paul McCartney want to revisit that period of his life? No, it's not going to happen. I'm staking my claim here that is not going to happen. So we've drifted off a little bit to start talking about the future of the archive collection, which I wasn't intending to do, but if anybody's stuck around to listen to it, then thank you. I'd just like to thank you all if you have stuck to the end here, because this has been quite a long video. If any of you haven't subscribed to my channel, I don't do this often, I don't like to beg or anything, but if anybody would like to subscribe to my channel, because I do a lot more of this nonsense, unboxings and all that kind of thing, it would be lovely to have you along for the ride. And I would like to thank you for watching. You'll see some links to other videos that I've done here. Please feel free to have a watch of those, and I hope I'll see you again sometime. Thank you very much.